Let's talk to Angela Levin, our good friend, royal biographer, author of Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, From Outcast to Future Queen Consort. You can get the book, it's out now. Angela, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. A couple of things to talk about. Obviously, our good friends Harry and Meghan, never far from our hearts, have gone back to California.
Yeah.
But the house that Meghan described as her dream house apparently is not her dream house anymore in Montecito.
Well, I see that as one of her problems. The matter is she's never satisfied. Things never suit her enough. The palace didn't do enough for her. She didn't want the titles, and she does want the titles. You know, she's one of those people that nothing is ever enough for her. It's a real problem if you're like that. And again, you know, moving from here to there. They were in Canada. That wasn't any good. They moved to America. You know, and she changes her mind about what she wants to do. First there's a book, then there's a film, then there's, you know, diary, then there's, you know, it's just endless things because something's there that she just can't live with.
Yes, and they're moving somewhere not far away, but to another kind of enclave. I mean, is there any possibility that it's too expensive for them, and they're just not saying?
Well, that could be. Maybe they don't need 10 bathrooms or 16 bathrooms. You know, maybe they can manage with 3 or 4. But I think she wanted a quieter place. They are putting a lot of police nearby because obviously there's a lot of criminals going around, high rate for murders. So in a way you can understand they want to go to somewhere more cosy that's more respectable. But I think this will carry on because as soon as she's got somewhere or done something, she wants to change it.
Yes, it does seem that they're not particularly happy. And there's a piece in one of the papers this morning, I think it's the Mail, saying that basically Harry snubbed William's secret offer to heal the rift, you know, because we don't really know precisely what happened during the Queen's funeral and the Queen's period of mourning. We saw the four of them with Kate and William walking out and walking about in Windsor. But it doesn't appear to have changed very much, does it?
No, I don't think it has at all. And it goes back to South Africa when Meghan said no one asks her how she is, when she's in countries where children have lost their limbs because there's bombs under the ground and, you know, they can't afford food. But she actually, instead of doing a documentary about where they were, it was all about I am very unhappy and people weren't being nice to her. Harry then said that he and William are in very, very different places at the moment, slightly ruder than that. But William immediately got in touch with him and said, you know, let's talk this through. And he said, I will only if you don't tell your private secretary. So William said, I can't do that because I've got to cancel some things. He said, well, I won't see you then. I think he's getting back. He's going backwards. He's like a difficult teenager now, you know, unless you do that for me, I'm not going to do this. And actually he would have benefited from it. He would have got it out. They could have discussed it. But, you know, he's sort of laying down the law won't work with certainly not your brother, I would imagine. And so they are, and there's no apologies about bringing Catherine to the fore and being nasty to her. And this is somebody who actually didn't like anybody and doesn't like anybody saying anything rude about her. But apparently in that piece you mentioned, she went to the aides to say, you've just got to do this. You've got to tell journalists what's happened about Catherine. And so you see a sort of, she's hypocritical, as we already know.
And what do you make of the stories coming out of Netflix and also from the book company as well, Random House, that he's trying to get them to take some bits out of the book? Similarly, they're trying to delay the Netflix show documentary about themselves. Do you think that's because they're having second thoughts?
Well, it seems to. I think they look around, they could see how amazingly popular the late Queen was, and also the popularity for King Charles, and the crowds of people singing God Save the Queen, they weren't booing, they weren't shouting, they were very welcome.
Angela, you're back. Do tell us about the book, and we apologise for losing touch with you there.
It might have been my Wi-Fi. Well, it's sort of two parallel stories, really. One is an amazing love story because they were together when who was then Prince Charles, was 22 and she was 24, got on brilliantly. But unfortunately, at that time, any wife to the heir to the throne had to be suitably coming from an aristocratic background, but also be a virgin. Camilla came from an okay, but not right at the top time, but she had also had a relationship. So that made her out of the question. When we look back at that now, we can't believe it, really. Well, it doesn't happen now, it doesn't count. But on the other side, there is this amazing woman who very quietly and devotedly, very similar to the Queen in an extraordinary way, in that she didn't complain about being called all the most awful names, but she stayed still. And when she was 57, she changed her whole life and became an absolute workaholic, doing numerous engagements for charities and working very quietly. She's not someone who likes to be in the middle of attention. She likes to do things behind things, get them and do them well. But all the CEOs I spoke to who run very important charities like domestic violence and rape and those things, which no royal would touch before she was around, said that she's given the most brilliant help to them.
Yes.
And she's got a wonderful sense of humour. She also feels that her first duty is to support King Charles. She's there for him and he can trust her. And we've all seen how much happier he is with her.
And also, she seems to keep him from getting too grumpy, which is no bad thing. We don't want a grumpy king, do we? Angela, listen, I've got to run. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Angela Levin.